So things we need for well-being. You are going to understand and know a lot of this stuff already, but I'm going to give you the brain science around why we need this, because, you know, as I said this morning, we often, as a school teacher, I would know what worked, but I was always curious to know why. Okay, our brain, complex structure, it continues to grow and change. So even though we have some pathways set in place from our genetics and our epigenetics, because our brain is so malleable, it's called neuroplasticity, we are able to build new pathways. Praise the Lord for a brain that adapts. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. That this structure, this tissue in our bodies can be so adaptable. So what I'm giving you this afternoon is ways to actually build new pathways to make, as you grow older, your well-being increases rather than deteriorates. Because the trials and troubles of life can really take a toll on our physical and our mental well-being, as you know too well. Okay, so the breakdowns that we experience, and these are very common breakdowns that come to my rooms in Melbourne, people that lack motivation, they're stuck in thinking traps, they cannot get things out of their head, no matter how hard they try. They've tried everything, and they go, I think I'm going crazy. No. You are not going crazy when your body is responding out of fear or out of something that you cannot control. Your brain is doing exactly what your brain is designed to do, and that is protect you. So that welling up of your tummy and that fast-beating heart, it's saying, get out. If there's a fire in this building, there's not one of you that is going to stay here. Your brain is for protection. We know that when people go to hospital and they are brain dead, we have to decide whether to turn off life support or not, because there is no life. Your brain, its purpose is to protect. Neuroplasticity. The human brain is capable of compensating for breakdowns even in its own system. That is phenomenal. Okay, the fear response is learned, and we talked about this a little bit this morning, but I'm going to give you a little bit more on that. So we're going to play a little bit of a thing this afternoon. I'm sure if you were in school, you either played knuckles or you played slaps. So if you are near somebody, that you can just have a quick game of slaps where you have to put your hands together and slap their hand. You know the game I'm talking about? And guys, I know you're over 10, but this is the afternoon, and I need to stay awake. So let's make this afternoon not as heavy, and let's have a bit of fun just for a little time. So knuckles to knuckles. Who can bang it down first? Or slaps. Shh. Find someone. We're just going to do this for about 3 minutes. Off you go. Instantly withdrawing because it hurts to be slapped or knuckled, and your sensations, it's going to draw your hands back. So it is a learned response. Now, singular experiences are powerful. This means that if something bad happens once, for example, I do not do maths. I do not do maths because when I was in high school, I had a very clever maths teacher who would embarrass me by saying, come on, surely you would know that by now. We have been over and over and over this. Okay, that shouldn't have put me off maths, but it can. So this is a little experiment, a research project that was done by Bert Sackman, and he took mice and he built a maze, a large maze, and had mice at the start, had food at the other end, and he let the mice wander through the maze to find the food. It took 150 brain activations to get it completely correct without going up the wrong alleyways. That's a lot. So when the mice had mastered that and got to the end and got the food, and they practiced that for a while, he then put a little trap door in the maze. Run along, fall down. Huge fright. Those mice starved to death. They never went that maze again because the fear of falling was too great. A singular experience of fear can cripple us. But if it's a pattern, if it's continuous, if there are lots of you're stupid, you're dumb, why can't you do better? I've told you how to do that. Come on. What is wrong with you? Are you an idiot or something? A continuous, you will have no desire to go down that road again because it shapes the person over a lifetime. Everything is interpreted by memories. Now, memory is not about remembering the past. Memory is about learning for the future. You do not touch the hot stove twice because your memory says, don't do that again. We do remember the past, and that causes us a lot of problems because we focus on remembering the past and we try and change the past. Oh, I'm getting so old, I'm getting wrinkles. Oh my goodness me, I've gone through menopause. I've now got really wide hips and a fat tummy. I remember how I was. Oh, I used to be a really good athlete. I can hardly run down the road now. So we remember the past and it actually causes us distress. Or we look into the future and it causes us equal stress. We've got to learn to live in the present. Our individual perceptions, how we see things is different. We have a car accident, I'm on one corner, you're on another corner, you will tell a completely different story, even to the colour of cars that were involved and who hit who first. And sometimes our perceptions get very mixed up and we mix up reality with perception and we can make up a whole new story. I was just counselling a client yesterday whose partner is into firearms, and he took the children and his partner on a camping trip. And this camping trip was amazing. He had firearms for shooting pigs and whatever in the bush, no problem at all. Sitting around the fire talking about firearms. The little girl goes to school and goes to her father, because this is an estranged marriage and there's a partner involved, and said, I got to hold a revolver. No. But they were talking about things like this. So her perception, her imagination, it all started to get confused. You cannot actually trust your perceptions. We cannot trust our memories. Use memory as a learning tool rather than anything else. Here's another little thing they did, experiment they did at university. They had two groups of university students. Took one group into one room, coffee machines, bean bags, couches, really comfortable, gave them a sheet of numbers, like telephone numbers, and said, you need to memorise these. We're going to have a test in a few days' time, see how you go. They took the other group into another room, and these people had nothing in the room apart from tables, and on those tables were tubs of water with ice floating in the top, and they had to put their hands in the water while they memorised the number sequences. Put up your hand if you think the people in the comfortable chairs learned more and quicker. Okay. Put up your hand if you think people that had their hands in the cold water remembered quicker. Okay. Interesting. Well, fear makes us learn. Pain makes us learn fast. Okay? The sad part is, even though the people that were comfortable, whatever, learned the numbers, the people with their hands in the ice water learned the most and the quickest, a very short time later, the only thing the people with their hands plunged in the icy cold water where they were going numb could remember was the pain of their hands in the water. So when you are disciplining children, when you are in a partnership, if you are yelling and screaming and stamping and doing all those things that we as parents do, this one included once upon a time, if we are doing that, You are not teaching your children what you want them to learn. You're just teaching them that mummy and daddy yell and scream and shout to get what they want. Pain makes us learn. But what, and this is where religion, Seventh-day Adventist doctrines are great as long as we don't throw them across some people's head to go, and if you don't, you won't get to heaven. And if you're a naughty girl, Jesus won't love you. Really damaging. Super damaging, because it's called spiritual abuse. Here's tip number 1. We need to learn to manage our stress, because we all go through stuff that is very difficult. As soon as tax time, and when we're in June, at the end of June, the tax has to be finished. If I'm not a mathematician, my gosh, how do I do tax? When I have to pay someone to do mine, definitely. But if you're not into numbers, just the thought of doing tax can be very stressful. Here's some ideas for you. Now, part of that sense of control that I spoke about this morning, we need to have options, a sense of control, is orientation. Now, if you came to my rooms in Melbourne, you would, knowing I'm a therapist, you would expect to see a couch, probably a library of some sort, a box of tissues, maybe some sweets on the table. There might be soft music and soft lights. That's what you would expect when you made the appointment to come and see me, because that's your orientation of what a therapy room looks like. But I'm going to be really ridiculously stupid here, and please excuse me, but it will put the point across. If you happen to come to my room and as I met you, and you came into my room, I had a strobe light and a pole, and I'm in a bikini, heavens above, and I'm doing some twirls around the pole, you're going to giggle and laugh and go, whoa! Because that makes you feel incredibly uncomfortable, because you thought you're coming to therapy, not pole dancing. So the orientation we have can cause us stress. So when a child reads stories about happy families and mummies and daddies loving each other, and everyone is kind, which stories do, and then they go home and there's yelling and screaming and shouting and pushing and shoving, the orientation goes, what? Doesn't feel right. We get married with an orientation of, I'm going to love this person forever. This person is caring and loving and not controlling. They let me have my freedom. I love them immensely because they fulfill my basic needs. But over time in marriage, some people forget, and the power in the marriage becomes unbalanced. And it often becomes unbalanced because women are at home looking after children, they're more tired, men are out working. And so then if the orientation of what a family was supposed to look like, because that's what you'd read love was, it's not your marriage. You're going to go, this is not worth it. This is really painful. I don't think I can do this anymore. So orientation is very important. But we must get an accurate view of the situation. Facts only, not assumptions. Now, I'm talking about if we are needing to speak to people in conflict, if you are talking with your partner, your children, assumptions are dangerous. Because assumptions mean we go down a path that nobody knows. And it can cause so much distress because we put our fears onto what we think might happen. And part of the mental health issues that we have today is because we live in the world of assumptions. Oh, what if there's a financial crisis? Oh, what if I can't pay my bills? Oh my goodness, what if my husband has a car accident? Oh, and so we live in assumptions and we cause ourselves stress. Facts only. My husband goes away a lot. He does. Ray was away in Toowoomba all last week. I couldn't contact him on Thursday night. And this little bunny on the stage here panicked. I'm going to be very brave and tell you, if you don't know, that we had a son that was killed 3 years ago. So you can imagine, when I can't hear from my husband, guess what my assumptions are? He's dead. Oh my goodness, the heart races. Because that's what the brain does. So we got to go, facts. Ray has not picked up his phone. Do you think I'm good at that? No, I'm not. I'm still suffering trauma. Okay? We need to avoid catastrophizing, making it bigger. Oh, everybody will think that I'm. You get kids say it, Mum, everybody's got one of these. No, they haven't. Stop catastrophizing. Because when we catastrophize, we actually make the problem bigger. I catastrophize with my husband being away. He must be dead. I went to the worst possible scenario. I catastrophized it. We need to attempt to understand what is going on, and we only get to understand what is going on if we ask, if we talk about it. So ask for clarification. If you are in a relationship with your husband, your spouse, your partner, your children, and you don't know what they're saying, and you heard something and your heart goes, whoa, we can go, what did you just say? And get really defensive. Or we can go very calmly, hey, hon, this is what I heard you say. Is that what you meant? Because if it is a bad, horrible, mean, nasty comment, you are seeking clarification, or you give the other person the chance to say, hey, hun, I did mean that and I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have said it like that. So this is a really important point for conflict resolution. Get clarification. Hey, this is what I heard you say. Is that what you actually meant? And if it was, you say, well, that makes me feel really, really uncomfortable. That really hurts inside when I hear you say that. And you then get the opportunity to tell people how you feel. And then we can have some hopefully mending of bridges there. Don't avoid facing the tough stuff. We all have demons. Please do not sit back in your chair this afternoon and go, oh, well, that's for everybody else. I'm fine. Some of us are prepared to face our demons, our past, our history, our genetics, our epigenetics, and we heal. I liken it to having a splinter in your finger. I was once pushed into a cactus bush by my lovely sisters and got prickles, big prickles, all through my derriere. So I was about 8 years old and I spent day upon day upon day, at various times of the day, across my mother's knee with my pants down while she needled out my prickles. Now, I could have left them in there. I didn't actually have to beg her to take them because it hurt. She got the needle, she got the tweezers, she got a little scalpel, because these are thorns. I could have gone, no, and ignored that I needed to get these out. You don't actually have to take a prickle out. You don't have to take a prickle out of your finger. You can live with that. It'll fester, it'll hurt, but you can live with it. With everything you pick up, you're going to be going, whoa, okay, that's sore. And so you won't enjoy it. In fact, if you've got a stubbed toe or a sore finger, guess what you focus on? The stubbed toe or the sore finger. And anything else that's happening in your world is actually quite irrelevant because I've got the stubbed toe. And I spoke this morning about clean sheet of paper, holes punched in, transferring our pain. If I've got a sore finger and haven't bothered to get the prickle out, I will expect Ray to have sympathy on me. Well, you know I can't do the dishes. You know I've got a sore finger. And I'll be snappy. I'll be lying in bed. No, don't roll on that. Oh, come on. Surely you know I'm in pain here. And so we transfer our irritation because we simply don't go and get help to get the prickle out of our own finger. Maybe it's a little bit like Jesus said, get the log out of your own eye before you worry about the prickle in somebody else's. If we are not prepared to deal with our demons, they will come out. Okay, as much as we might want to hide them. We need to identify. I was abused. I was beaten silly by. I was sexually abused. I was. Name the emotion. This made me feel worthless, horrible, disgusting, angry, frustrated. And then you acknowledge. Of course it would have. Because it was a violation of my basic needs, and it's okay to feel like that. You give yourself permission to feel the pain that you're feeling from whatever pain. With our son being killed, I've had to sit and identify, I am suffering loss and grief. How do I feel? Broken to the core. How do I sleep? I hardly do. Name the emotion. And then there's no way any of you would say to me, well, when are you going to get over that? You'll go, of course you will, honey. This is really, really hard for you. That's what you have to do for yourself. Of course I'm going to feel like that. I've been hurt. But then we must get to the last one, which is address it. And in my addressing it, I can go with that capital letter Y that I had this morning. I can go, well, I'm just going to curl up in this bed and not get out. You know, yeah, I know, I've got another son, you know what, but no, I just can't. In addressing it, we choose to make change despite what we're going through. That's the next point, change the language. Despite what I'm going through, this is what I'm choosing to do. I have so many people that say to me, I don't know how you do that after the loss of your son. You know something? I don't know how I do it either. By the grace of God only, I'm up here before you. But I'm choosing to do what I used to once do in countries around the world, because if I don't get back on the horse and come back up here, I'm broken forever. And I refuse to be that. So even though, despite, no buts, you must take but out of your language. Oh, I would, but. Oh, I know I should, but. That comes with exercise, what we should be eating, our Bible study, our prayer time, everything. We use buts to excuse it. You must live a life of no buts. And I want you to view stress differently. Kelly McGonigal is a health psychologist in America, and she did a very, very good TED talk called Make Stress Your Friend, and I've taken a few notes from hers for later on today. And she talks about we see stress as the enemy, that fast-beating heart, those lungs that are breathing really quickly and getting a lot of oxygen. We see that as really, really bad. Oh my goodness, I'm so stressed. Chill. Yes, my heart is beating fast. I've got a presentation to do on the 24th of June in the Geelong church. I'm nervous. My heart is beating fast. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm identifying, I'm naming it, I'm acknowledging, but now I'm addressing. Okay, that fast-beating heart means I'm pumping more blood to give me more energy, to inspire me to get up and be able to do this. So I might be running on adrenaline right now and I might collapse later, but see it as not the enemy, but as an empowering thing. Stress is not always the enemy. If you're not stressed, you'll never pass any exams. But we treat it like the enemy, okay? So don't always see it as a foe. It's when it gets out of control, like I talked about this morning, it becomes dangerous. 4-7-8 breathing, if you don't know what this is, you can actually Google it. It's what I teach all my clients. 4-7-8 breathing is an amazing breathing technique where you breathe in for 4, you hold it for 7, you let it out for 8. And I know some of you will just want to sit on your chair and do nothing, but those that are brave enough, I'm going to do all the counting. I'm going to do this little exercise with you because it's actually a little intervention. And when I do this exercise with you, I want you just to notice your brain. Let's go. In for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out for 8 through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again. In. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once more. In. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. Your brain probably feels just a little bit lighter, just a little bit on the dizzy side. You've actually calmed down the amygdala. Now, you're hopefully all calm here, but guess who was doing breathing before she got up this morning? Because you might think this looks easy. I too get stressed. Because when that amygdala, that centre of your brain, is activated, you remember the slide this morning, I actually should have put it up, I don't think I have, your frontal cortex, which is your thinking, your reasoning, your problem-solving area, which is not fully developed until you are about 25 and some say 28 years old, it shuts down. Not entirely, it's hijacked. So if you were about to cross the street and a bus was coming your way and you had to jump back, but I go, oh, what's 7 plus 9? What? You're not even thinking. All you're doing is protection. If you feel you have a life of stress, take some pockets of time. We think going away for 3 weeks to the Gold Coast or the sunny coast or Bali is the answer. It's not. As lovely as that might be, you'll probably stress more when you come home and get the credit card bill. Take pockets of time. I do a lot of contracting for big businesses like Bunnings and Officeworks and things like that. Those people are on the floor all the time. And I say to them, okay, when you go to the toilet, take 2 more minutes and sit on the toilet and just breathe. Because if they've had pretty nasty customers, of which they did through COVID, with people abusing them in the store, saying all manner of horrible things to them, these girls on the desk and guys on the desk are pretty heightened up because people are mean. If they don't get their way, they're mean. The breathing calms your amygdala and it opens up the prefrontal cortex so you can make some clearer decisions. You get results in the mail that your bowel test has proven to be positive and you are susceptible, or they think you may have bowel cancer. That doesn't say that. It just says come in for another test. But immediately your head goes, oh, I've got bowel cancer. You've assumed. When you get something like that, you do the breathing and go, what do I know? What are the facts? So when I get cancer patients coming and see me, I say, so what do you know? What have you been told? Oh, well, I've been told this and I need to go for treatment. Okay. Oh, but I think I'm going to die. No. What do you know? Let's breathe and calm down the brain and let's think clearly, facts only, without assumptions. A drink of water will certainly put more fluid in your brain and use it as a distraction. If you are about to blast your kids because I've stuffed sandwiches down the back of the seats and they're going mouldy, and I wish my mother had learned this when I was a little girl, go and have a drink of water and buy yourself some time. You are going to want to explode. You will feel your heart racing and you are going to want to react. Say to your child, okay, I'm just going to go get a drink of water. I'm going to bring back one back for you as well, and then we're going to have a little chat. But that's not what we do. What the have you done? And off we go. Go for a run if you can, or a walk. Change the scenery. If I'm counselling couples, I say to them, just get out from that room and go and stand on the veranda or go to the laundry. Change the place you are in, because trauma and stress, it comes out in our bodies. So get up and move. If you're having a fight with your partner or your husband and you're sitting at the table, say, you know what, I think we need to discuss this more, but let's go out. Let's walk while we discuss this. Because the movement helps to dissolve the huge anxiety you feel. Play with a pet, and I'll talk about oxytocin very soon. Pets, soothing, hold the cat, pat the dog, talk to someone else, ask for help. Let's move on. We talked this morning about routines, consistency and predictability. I'm going to add today boundaries, choices and consequences. Boundaries. The mother-in-law wants to continue to come over to see you and you don't want her to. You are really struggling. You've got so much on. You need to put in boundaries that you, guilt-free boundaries, that you say, I would really, number one, whether it's a teenager, a mother-in-law or a grandfather, you say, you know what, I would really love to see you. Number one, you must get on the person's page that you are talking to. If your children come say, I want to go to a party, Mum, I want to go to a party, Mum, I want to go to the party. No. No. Say, honey, I hear that you want to go to the party. She knows you've heard. I can understand why you would want to go to a party, because parties are fun. You've now got on her page, and guess what? You've stopped her amygdala from racing, and she's now ready to listen to you. Okay, honey, I don't know if you've realised that that's the weekend that Grandma and Grandpa are coming down. Oh, Mum, it's not fair. No, honey, it doesn't seem fair, does it, that you'd have to miss out on a party because Grandma and Grandpa are coming. You're still on her page. You're stating what you see, and you are there with her. So then you can address the problem. I wonder if we can come to a compromise. The knee-jerk reactions are never good. Choices and consequences. If you have trouble disciplining your children, it's probably because you are, let's go back one, you're not consistent or predictable. Sometimes you're disciplined, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they have their iPad, sometimes they can't. Sometimes they can use their phone in bed, other times they can't. So we need predictability and consistency so kids and adults know where we're at. And this goes with older people. This goes with your children who want you to babysit again and again and again. Boundaries. Oh, actually, I'm going out. I'm happy to babysit that week, but I can't do it Tuesday. Right, we'll go more later. I'm hoping prayer is part of your life. You don't actually have to say anything in prayer. You can just, because have you found that we just pray for what we want? Please give me this. Please give me that. Please look after this. Please look after that. Please keep me safe. Prayer has taken on a whole different meaning to me and my husband, because July 26, 2020, we had family worship in the morning praying for our son's protection. We have 2 sons. Guess what? He wasn't protected. So sometimes I just sit and say, God, I actually don't know what to say, but I'm here. Because sometimes praying is just too hard. I don't hate God, but I feel challenged by what you assume is going to happen. Just sitting before the Father, He knows the hearts, He hears the thoughts, He understands the pain. That 4-7-8 breathing, calm the brain before you go into prayer. Be still and know that I am God. We are not still. We are busy. And when we get home, we put on telly, we listen to the news on the radio, we listen to it all the way home, listen to the reports on the radio about what the traffic's doing. Take your mind to somewhere where you have been that is incredibly peaceful. If I could take you out tomorrow on your own and drop you somewhere where you could just chill out for the world with no responsibilities, just lie back and relax. Could be a beach, a forest, a mountain, a waterfall. Because your amygdala and calming down, we don't sleep when we can't calm our amygdala. We can't relax and enjoy life if we've got an overactive amygdala. And an active amygdala means all of our senses are on high alert. Because of day one of you being born, everything you see, hear, taste, touch and smell goes through the amygdala, because the amygdala determines if it is safe or not. I came into this room today and I am scanning the environment. It's new. And once I knew I was at the right place with Adventist people and not at some disco, I'm relaxed and my body goes, the orientation's worked out, and I'm chilled. But my amygdala is going, is this okay? Your amygdala was going as soon as I got up here this morning, because you're wondering who I am and what I'm going to say. I'm unknown to you. And you're only back here this afternoon because you felt safe with me this morning. But if I'd berated you and called you all sorts of names, there wouldn't be one person sitting in this seat. Our brain needs to feel safe. So you go there, you calm your senses. Okay, another intervention. My goodness, you are all getting free counselling sessions. Chill. If you feel like you can close your eyes, but I know that's very uncomfortable with some people, so just think, just pretend you're at one of those places, or somewhere in your mind's eye. And I want you just in your head, if you're with me, I'd be saying, what do you see? What are you looking at? The beach, the ocean, the waves. And you just take a while looking around you in your mind's eye, describing in pictures what you're looking at. Then I'd say, what are you listening to? What can you hear? Oh, seagulls. I can hear the waves crashing. Oh, there's people talking. Oh, I can hear the traffic on the distant road. Then I'd say, what are you smelling? Oh, the salty air. Take a breath and take a big breath. If you're at a waterfall, oh, freshness. Are you sitting or are you standing? Describe what it's like underneath you. Are you tasting anything? Oh yeah, I'm sucking on a lolly. What's it taste like? Describe it for me. For those few little minutes I've done that with you, not one of you have thought about what you're having for dinner tonight or what happened at work last week. You have actually completely chilled out. They're the pockets I'm talking about to give your brain a rest. Because you remember I showed you the slide this morning, the stress that is continuous damages us irreparably. Because our amygdala grows and our hippocampus shrinks, particularly if you're little children. So if you've got little children, teach them grounding. At this present time, all you have to worry about is sitting in your chair and where your feet are and whatever. It's called being present, if you like. Okay. Please read this carefully. It is not about being more positive. I have so many people say, oh, if I was just more positive. After the loss of a child, if anyone says to me, just be more positive, I'll probably deck you. How can I be positive about the loss of a child? How can you be positive about your diagnosis of cancer? How can you be positive about family abuse, sexual abuse? It is not about being more positive. It is such a wrong word to use in therapy, but we're told it all the time. And then we start to feel guilty and shame because, well, I can't be. I'm hurting. But I do want you to look for the value in you. I do want you to look for the value in others. You will have to seek out pleasure opportunities. I remember reading a story about a man who lived in Chicago. He'd moved here from Miami with the beaches and the palm trees and everything. And he absolutely hated living in Chicago with the tall buildings and the smoke and the smog and the cold. And every morning he'd trudge to work and he was just, He said, but then I noticed a flower growing out of the side of the bricks. He said, and I looked for more, and I looked for more. If you suffer loss, if you suffer an illness, loss. In fact, loss is everything. If you're told you've got a cancer diagnosis, that's loss. If you suffer depression, that's loss. Because the life you once lived is now not the life that you have. It's loss, and you will grieve. So we have to look. And it's going outside into nature because God created a beautiful world, and it's going, you know what? Despite that, I can just feel the sun on my face. We've got to look for the moments of gratitude. Thank you, Lord, for the sun. Thank you for the flower that grew on the side of the bricks. No behaviour is ever repeated unless it is rewarded. We do not repeat things again and again unless it brings us some form of pleasure. And that goes for anxiety as well. That reward is dopamine. Okay, I'm going to talk very briefly about dopamine and serotonin. If I had some chocolate cake down here, and you like chocolate cake, as soon as you come in the door and see the chocolate cake, dopamine is released. Because you go, whoa, that looks good. And dopamine motivates you to want some. So you come up hoping that I'll be kind enough to say, would you like a piece? Yes, please. You take a bite and it's amazing. And dopamine will encourage you to take the next bite because the first one was so good. But even if you walk through the door and you see the chocolate cake and you think, oh, that looks great, but you take the first bite and it is absolutely foul, there is no way you will take the second bite. Because dopamine links with serotonin. Dopamine is our motivating hormone. Serotonin is our happy neurotransmitter. They link hands together and they reward and make us want to do the same behaviours again. Some of us that are trapped in anxiety and thoughts and I'm no good, we actually go, oh, I'm worried that I'm not worried. Because we get something out of being worried. And that could be simply someone's going to listen to us if I tell you I'm worried. Oh, honey, let me give you a hug. It's a dopamine. Why wouldn't I? I get kids that don't want to go to school. Parents go, oh, okay, honey, if you're sick, you don't have to go to school. They're given the iPad, they've got the TV, they've got the computer. Guess what they want to do next day? Stay home. Because the first day, there was a dopamine reward, a serotonin reward. Why would they want to go to school? Because the first day was great. If you have children that don't want to go to school, here's what you do. You get on their page. Oh, honey, you know what? School can be a real pain, I know. They suddenly start listening. Mum gets it. Okay, look, I know you don't want to go to school, and actually you don't have to. But there is a law in Australia that you either earn or learn. So, honey, you can stay home, but there will be no phones or no iPads or no TV or computer. But I do have windows to wash and moors to fly. And I will pay you when I get home for the jobs that you've done, but you're not just going to sit at home. But you'll be away from your friends and there's all these jobs that have to be completed. Guess what? Next day they'll go to school. Because staying at home on their own, unless of course they're being bullied at school and the pain of being bullied, it's better to do jobs at home than be bullied again at school. So you have to wait up. You've got to find out what it is. Okay, practice recognising pleasure. This was Arlene Taylor, who was actually an Adventist brain neuroscientist as well. And she says in situations that are challenging, you need to find something humorous. How many funerals have you been to that people go, oh, Uncle Jock, oh, he was a wag. Why, you know, that time he did this. And we all have a little chuckle. Because we look for the humour even in difficult situations. Sometimes there is no humour in it. It's just too tragic. So we need to find things we are grateful for. And again, I've used that word. What I can be despite the circumstance. Practice tolerance. Heard of the marshmallow experiment? Little kid in the room, marshmallow on a plate. Researcher goes, I've got a marshmallow there, but if you can leave it on your plate, I'll be back in 10 minutes. And if it's still there when I come back, you get another one. and they film what happens. The kids that have no window of tolerance will eat it straight away. We have to practice sitting with pain. We practice sitting with pain when we go to the dentist. We tolerate it knowing that the end result is going to be good. But often in life, if I don't like it, I want to do that. If I feel uncomfortable, I'm going to take that. If I've got a pain in my leg, I'm going to do a Panadol. If I'm like this, I'm going to do that. And we don't practice tolerance. There's a cigarette in the centre there, and I think you must think that I'm smoking, but I'm not. I'll tell you about the Kelly McGonigal research project. So they took a group of smokers into a room. They were not allowed to smoke. Now, these are chronic addicts, smoking addicts. They said, do not smoke for 24 hours, but bring a full packet of cigarettes into the room with you. Sitting around the table, packet, lighter, ready to go. And she said, okay, have a look at the packet and wait 2 minutes. Just look at the packet. 2 minutes, okay. Take the little zippy thing off the front of it. Wait 2 minutes. Okay, take the cellophane off the top. Wait 2 minutes. Take it off the bottom. She went through this process before they could finally take out a cigarette. Those people learned to wait 12 hours and upwards just by learning to increase their window of tolerance. But we want things instantly. My goodness, if I can't get to the shops, I'll go online. I'm not going to wait. And if my pizza delivery is 5 minutes late, I'll tell the boy, that was slow. We don't have any tolerance. So the last picture of the lady with the head, learn to sit with discomfort. It's okay. Identify it, name it, acknowledge, of course I'm feeling down today. But then go, I'm going to give myself another 5 minutes, then I'm getting up, I'm getting out, and I'm getting going. BDNF. The big fancy name for this is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is such an important hormone that if you're sleeping, I want you to wake up. Because this is vital for your children's brain development and yours to help ward off Alzheimer's and dementia. It's not the be-all and end-all because there's genetics and epigenetics that come into play as well. But this stuff is phenomenal. In fact, if you Google Scholar this, you'll get all the scientific articles about why this is good. If you just Google BDNF, you'll hear it's called the fertilizer for the brain because it enables neuron growth. I don't know if you know any people that go, I can't stand change. Let me sit at the same place. No, that's my chair in church. Excuse me, can you move over? I always sit there. They have what we term a rigid brain because change is very, very difficult. You get kids that are lost when they go to school. I don't like new classrooms. There could be an Asperger's, there could be something there. I'm talking the general kid, okay? Neuron growth means you have ability to solve more problems, all right? So BDNF enables neuron growth. It prevents that rigid, I can't handle change, brain. It also helps relieve stress. Here's a quick slide I pulled off the internet because it's just this compact thing. Exercise is an absolute must to produce BDNF. Sleep, it is produced a lot through your sleep. Nutrition, Mrs. White had a thing about eating good food. Avoiding fats, sugars and salts, which is the compound behind all junk food. Tastes good, we get a taste for it. But the kid that sits at home on his computer without doing exercise, eating bags of chips and popcorn and lollies and whatever, they are not producing BDNF. And even if they get back to school, learning is going to be horrendous because they haven't got enough neurons to keep up. VEGF. It does the same for the blood vessels as what BDNF does for the neurons. Okay? Same sort of thing. Stimulated by exercise. And if your cerebral blood flow is working well, your brain is thinking better. Keep connecting. The big thing that we always ask someone that suffered trauma or was going through a hard time, one of the first questions I ask them is, who have you got to support you? I really worry about the person that says, I go home alone. Can you phone someone? No, all a bit busy. Well, is there someone you can go and visit? No, I haven't kept in contact with them for years. Connection is important because you release oxytocin, which is actually called the cuddle hormone. Oxytocin makes you want to connect with people. It drives you to do that. It primes relationships. It is so necessary when we are going through hard times. It's actually also part of the stress response. Just like adrenaline is, just like cortisol is, just like the glucocorticoids are. It is part of the stress response. But what oxytocin is, it's actually like an anti-inflammatory. So we've heard that the heart, you're under a lot of stress and, your blood vessels constrict. Oxytocin release, the research shows there is no constricting. If you are going through, or if you know of people going through difficult times, this is where you as church people, we reach out. We reach out, we love, we care. But you've got to sit long enough and not just, hi. Oh, I should have gone to this slide. I would have been probably better, wouldn't you? I've told you all that. Okay, I've told you all that too. So let's go. Yes, so the heart has receptors. We've pretty much done that. I like this little quote. My favourite kind of pain is in my stomach when my friends make me laugh too hard. Ray and I, with some friends in Melbourne, went and saw Michael McIntyre in Melbourne. Michael McIntyre is that British comedian, and I love him because he's not smutty. I love him because he might drop a few little words that I don't approve of, but literally it's pretty clean fun. And Ray and I, we laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. It is the first time we have laughed and laughed that way for 3 years. It does the soul good. Make sure with friends, it's not just talking about all my woes and everything that's wrong, but you laugh, you enjoy, you play games, whatever you've got to do, card games, whatever, but laugh. Okay, I'm probably going to skip some of this. Oh, actually, I'll go with this. Internet communications. We go, oh, well, my kids are communicating with people over the internet. That's okay. If they are kids that are bullied at school, if they're kids that have no friends, and sometimes their only thing they've got is their internet friends. However, if they are connecting only on Fortnite and playing games with their friends, it's not really a friendship. And friendships online are very dangerous these days. And I get a lot of kids that come and go, oh no, I've been talking to him for ages, oh, I don't know who he is. And they get very upset if I say, delete. Okay, so the participants, these were older people, they were 80 plus, and they played video chat session games there for 6 weeks, and there are improvements in their executive function, which is their emotional regulation, how they handle stress, for example, and their language skills. And then when they were retested 4.5 months later, there was still improvement. So even if you are stuck at home in a wheelchair, cannot get out, connect online. You must have connections. New learning, really important. Not passive learning. Passive learning is playing the piano, but playing all the old pieces that I grew up with and known for years, the hymns we've always sung. That's passive learning. Sudoku and crosswords is pretty much passive learning. You need active learning. Learning a new language, learning a new skill, talking to people you don't agree with, not to fight with them, but to get bigger ideas. Active learning requires your brain, and this is probably why I keep speaking, because I have to put hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of thought and energy and research to do these presentations. I don't do it for you. I do it for me. Just kidding. It keeps my brain active. It's new learning because there's always new stuff coming out. So that's one reason why I still like doing this, okay? You've got to do new skills that are cognitively demanding. Reading, not Mills and Boon. You know what's going to happen. They'll fall in love, they'll have a divorce, and then they'll get married again. Challenging books, things that actually challenge your way of thinking. Write something. Writing is really good. Write your spiritual journey. Connect. Someone who disagrees with you. Music, sight reading, language, learn a new language. There's nothing wrong with getting your doctorate when you're 80. There's plenty of people that have done it. Because the grey matter, you can see with bilinguals, the grey matter is increased when you learn new languages. Interesting slide. Benefits of challenging learning. You can see the results there, particularly in older adults. Now, you might think, oh, we're just young chickens. But the older we get, if we don't look after our brain now, like we clean, I was telling someone at lunchtime today, we don't do preventative mental health. We do mental health when we feel we can't cope anymore. This stuff is preventative mental health. Just like I scrub my teeth, I floss daily, twice a day, because when I go to the dentist, I can't just clean my teeth when I've got an appointment at the dentist in 6 months. I have to do a regular to keep my teeth from needing fillings. Okay, enough said. This is a little saying that I've come up with for my clients. Do something every day to make your life bigger and somebody else's better. Your life bigger could be reading a new article, coming to a seminar, talking to the neighbour across the fence, taking some cookies, going to a new cafe, trying a new recipe. Make your life bigger. But part of that oxytocin release to keep our brain in a good place is to do it for somebody else. Make something for somebody. Phone someone you think is having a hard time. You are hearing their story, which makes your life bigger, and they are feeling better at the same time. Keep moving. Exercise. The single thing that comes close to a magic bullet is exercise. If I had to take everything away from you to give you good health in old age, I would never want to take away exercise. It is so good for you. Okay, because we have, this is all a little scientific here, isn't it? What it does is bulks up our brain mass when we exercise, okay? All the structures, the hippocampus bulks up. It just is good for our brain health. Seniors who exercise, 8% increase in global grey matter. That's a huge increase. 9 years later, those that were still exercising still had more grey matter. Increases blood flow, stimulates the production of BDNF. How much do you have to do? As much as you can do. Because it's different for everybody. Eat well, we're not going to go, that's a whole different seminar. But let's talk about sleep. Okay, when you are asleep, your hippocampus is incredibly awake. Your hippocampus is not where memories are stored, it's where they are sorted. So your brain, through the night, replays and replays and replays and replays and replays everything that's happened in the day. It's why you dream. You'll dream something will happen in the day, but you'll also bring in all movies you've watched and things of the past, and so you've fallen down on the road, and so you'll bring in a movie that you've watched that somebody fell down and could never get up and became a so you'll have this nightmare that happened to you. That's how dreams happen, okay? The brain reactivates memories, and so because it's reactivating or rethinking these memories, there's a cementing of the memories in your brain. The things, the events that are attached to high emotion are the things the brain stores for long-term memory. That's why I can still remember to this day when I was 9 years old on my grandfather's farm, he said to me, "Well, you're certainly not the pretty one of the family, are you?" He's dead and gone, bless his soul. Because that was highly emotive for a 9-year-old girl to hear. So guess who remembers it? So when my darling husband tells me he loves me, I go, "Well, what for? You look lovely." "No, I don't." Because that is the memory I take with me. That's what the brain does. Anything that has high emotion stays in our brain. Remember, memory is about learning for the future. So if I ever hear, "Oh, you don't look so nice today," I will literally start to panic. That's why I wear all black when I'm up the front. If I spilt my soup down me, I'd be going, "Oh my goodness, they're going to think I'm terrible." So my behaviour is wear black, be safe. Do you see how it works? Okay. Neurons, okay. We sleep to cleanse. This is really interesting, and you've probably heard it before, but I'm going to go through it quickly. Neurons are bathed in salt water, okay? So, toxins accumulate in the brain every single day. And our brain is actually washed through sleep. It's through a spinal fluid called brain cerebral spinal fluid, CFS, that surrounds the brain. And what they've noticed happen, now we only know this brain stuff since we've been able to access inside the brain with PET scans and fMRI scans. So 50 years ago, you go, "Oh, where's all this knowledge come from?" We didn't have the ability to look inside the brain. But what they see now with the testing and the research they do, the brain mass actually shrinks slightly to let the spinal fluid wash through the brain. It's called the glymphatic system. It removes the junk, and then you pee it out in the morning. And it happens through our slow wave sleep time. Here's a picture of it. It's amazing. There are your blood vessels, and inside the brain, here's a clearer one. Look at it. The red stuff going through is the spinal fluid that washes your brain each night. Amazing. God is amazing. There's another one. But when we age, we don't sleep as well. If your kids are sitting up all night, and some kids come to me and they haven't slept for a few days, and in fact they don't get to bed till 4 o'clock in the morning, then they've got to get up by 7:30 to get to school on time. And they wonder why they can't think at school. And they've been playing games all night, so when they do turn off the games, they still can't think because that blue light is still buzzing around. This is what I'm talking about, boundaries. Parents, grandparents, there has to be a certain amount of time that they are allowed to do internet. It's not a ban. A ban is a silly idea. We live in a world of internet. We live in a world where technology rules us and runs us, whether we like it or not. We live in a world where our kids have to learn how to do computers, so banning it is ridiculous. We put boundaries around it. And internet, computer, iPads, phones become a privilege, not an entitlement. Because as we age, the waste removal becomes sporadic. It's not as flushing through. So then toxic waste builds up, and then there's damaged brain tissue which leads to Alzheimer's and dementia. Get as much sleep as you can, older people, and your sleep will be broken. For 3 years, I don't think I've slept through a single night because stress, loss, worry, whatever, means we wake up. I was awake at 4 o'clock this morning. I went to bed at 12 because I was nervous about today. So guess what I'm doing tonight? But can we make up sleep? No, we actually can't. Just have a little read of that. promotes better cognitive function and serves against old age. If you don't get enough sleep, you are more prone to these. Serious stuff. Can you catch up on sleep? I thought this was done by Kathy Goldstein, the professor of the Michigan Sleep Disorders Centre. So it's not Karen Ferry telling you this. This is someone that works in the Sleep Disorder Centre. Extra weekend rest is not enough. You'd need actually 4 days of adequate rest to make up for even 1 hour of sleep. A lot, hey? You might be getting some alertness benefits by sleeping longer on the weekends, but as far as truly making up for lost sleep during the week, you really can't make up for it hour by hour. Interesting, isn't it? How do you get a good night's sleep? Have a bath or a long shower? Do that breathing. Get rid of all do not have a clock in your bedroom. Because you wake up and go, oh, I'm still awake. Oh, it's 11:30, I'm still awake. Get rid of your clocks. Sleep and sex are only for the bedroom. Not watching TV, not doing homework, not writing letters or on the phone. Your bedroom, you need to train your brain that when I go in there, it's sex or it's sleep. And that is it. You do your reading outside, you do your reading there, okay? Has to be a dark room. Even those lights that we charge our phone and our computer with will actually keep you awake. Cover them. That pinprick of light is enough to wake you up. Cool, about 18 to 20 degrees is what they recommend. Put on white noise. We live in an apartment in a suburbia of Melbourne at the moment, and we're quite near a road, and I can hear some trucks, and we're actually right near a fire station, so there's often fire trucks going out at night and police. And so I have white noise. On the phone, you can type in white noise. In fact, I've put on brown noise. It's not quite as piercing as white noise, which means there's this continual buzz. And you know what? I go to bed, I hear the noise, and my brain knows, turn off. I've trained it that way. If you go into that present thing we did with thinking of the mountain or the sea or whatever, you do that breathing, calm down your amygdala, think of the ocean. After about 3 weeks, it takes about 3 weeks to form a habit. After about 3 weeks, you hit the pillow, you do your breathing, you think of the ocean, you will train your brain to fall asleep very quickly. There'll be nights that you won't, but generally you have to train your brain to sleep. Sleep routine. Okay, no blue light. That's all stuff that you know anyway. Last slide. If you can't fall asleep, what are you doing in the afternoon? Okay, I'm certain none of you are into nicotine, but remember I do talks for people that aren't Adventists, so it's there. Those mindfulness activities. Psalm 4:8. Put your trust in God. Tonight, God, I'm just going to focus on you. I'm just going to think of you. I'm not going to pray or ask for anything. I'm just going to feel your arms around me. I'm safe in my bed. I'm here. Amen.